Thank you all for being here. I think it was Raymond Phillips, and I saw Raymond here today, that used to say you could have chosen to be anywhere else in the world today, but you chose to be here and hear your State of the County address. So thank you for being here. What a great singer we had today, Carmen and Warren. Thank you, and thank you to our color guard. Don't they make you proud, man? Thank you to my family, Boyd, for being here, my sister Winona and her husband Ricky, especially to my daughter, Jady, with the love of my life, my grandbabies, Abney and Austin. And to my great wife who brings me balance. She's my girlfriend of 51 years this past July the 11th, and my wife for 44. It seemed like only 40, but it's actually 44 this year. Kind of reminds me of something I heard that's cute recently, and a couple was married for a year. And the husband sat down and he made a list of about 10 things that if his wife, who was a good wife, changed, she could be a great wife. So he shared those 10 things with his wife and he said, what do you think? You know, you're a good wife. You could go from being a good wife to a great wife if you just change these 10 things. She looked down and stood him for a few moments, and then she said, if I wanted to change those things, I could have had a great husband. Jane, you could have had a great husband. Thank you to the Chamber and the leadership of Carolyn Wright and also Terry Hardy. Terry's taken an extra stint here. The staff and ambassadors, thank you all for being here and making this a wonderful event. I want to thank our legislators, our constitutional officers, statutory officers, the Board of Education, Chattahoochee Tech, Georgia Highlands, and Kennesaw State. We have many guests today from state agencies and also board members from different agencies that I serve with. Thank you for being here. If I start calling people's names out, I'm going to forget somebody. We have commissioners from surrounding county and our own Board of Commissioners. Thank y'all for being here. Dave Carmichael is on a mission trip, so he had told me in advance that he was planning on doing that. This is a little bit delayed. If you wonder why it's so late, we've been waiting on a permit for a while, so we sort of had to delay this. Thank you to the mayors of our great cities. Y'all do an awesome job. And thanks to Congressman Graves, Senator Johnny Isaacson, U.S. Senator David Perdue, and retired Senator Saxby Chambliss. You cannot run a county alone, but each one of these people and all these departments have touched my life, and they've helped me lead Paulding County, especially our clerk, Pat Tibbetts. Pat, thank you very much. I know she's busy working here somewhere. I am touched by the people that volunteer. No organization, church, or government can function without them. We couldn't have ball teams and any of that type thing. So thank you all. And also thank you for firms like Ragsdale Heating and Air that sponsor clay shoots and make stuff like this possible. Thank you. Speaking about volunteerism, the Ken Thigpen Community Service Award, named after his first recipient, is an award that I give for outstanding volunteering to an individual. As Muhammad Ali said, service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. And man, this lady has a huge room here on earth. Someone I admire dearly and someone who's absolutely going to kill me. Carol Barber. Carol was born and raised in South Georgia in a small town named Barney. Growing up, she learned about cooking and preparing many meals to help her mom in the kitchen for people that worked on their farm. Shortly after completing her associate degree from Abraham Baldwin College, she chased George to Atlanta. Now, Scott, her son, wrote this, and in parentheses it says, he made me write that, although they didn't meet until they were both in Atlanta later. A lot of people were in on this, Carol. Everybody but your precious daughter-in-law, Paige, who had nothing to do with this. She found a place to live in Atlanta and found a job to support herself, and she and George were married in 1964. She and George moved to Paulding County with their two sons, Scott and Chris, in 1978, and they continue to reside here. Scott and his wife, Paige, and they have two beautiful granddaughters, Kelsey and Madison. In fact, Carol is here today due to some strategic coaxing. My mother used to call that pure tea lying. Because last night she was in Florida and caught a airline flight here with George and the granddaughters in what the little girls call their traditional summer with Mima and Papa. This is a testament to Carol because she would do anything to help anyone, and flew in today for this luncheon because she really thought she was here to do something to help Scott, having no idea that it was really about her. After moving to Paulding County, Carol quickly became involved in community through her church and her children. Our first volunteer role was at Band Boosters of Paulding County, and the great late Ronnie Davis used to say that Carol was one of the best presidents that he ever had. This led to an extensive role in volunteer of the Spirit of Atlanta Drum Corps and Bugle Corps, and Carol was the chief road cook for 5 years, planning and preparing all the meals for the Corps and its staff. This is over 150 people, all the meals, 3 times a day and then some. She was even featured in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. That goes back to when, some of y'all may remember, we had a morning paper and an afternoon paper. We barely have a paper today, but her ability to prepare outstanding quality meals for large groups of people. At Dallas First United Methodist Church, Carol was the startup cook for and served 10 years in the community outreach program, River of Life. She planned, prepares meals for hundreds of adults and children as they work for several days with needy families, and they put on roofs, they made wheelchair ramps, they did painting and yard work. There's amazing things that they've done. Again, hundreds of people and never paid. Carol was affectionately known at Dallas First as the kitchen Nazi. Imagine who gave her that name. Because she was always there in the kitchen, directing traffic, bossing, teaching others, bossing, preparing meals for many events, and including Sunday night service. Carol has volunteered at Helping Hands of Paulding County for over 12 years. This organization's mission is to meet the physical and spiritual needs of the community and help people from everything from food, clothing, and shelter to assisting them in obtaining the GED and become stronger contributing citizens. She's done everything from her first job of assisting clients with a need for food to reaching out to businesses and supporting the organization and becoming a member of the board as she continues to serve. She also is a member of the board of the Greystone Foundation, serving with a Roundup program where she provides scholarships, helps with providing scholarships to 5 high school students in Paulding County and 7 neighboring counties to help them go to college. Keller has volunteered at Paulding Willstar Hospital since 1998. She started there in what was called the Pink Lady program and became a volunteer in the Volunteer Association and continues to work 3 days a week. She is Secretary and Treasurer of this Willstar Volunteer Program, and she attends many meetings in Douglas and also at the state level in Macon. But also, in state yearly meetings and also for fundraisers on the auxiliary board, and she served 10 years on the Willstar Regional Board at no pay. Both of Carol's granddaughters have enjoyed serving in the Willstar Paulding program as a result of their grandmother's influence and the importance she places on volunteers, not to mention how much they love being with Mima and Papa. In her spare time, can you imagine that? In her spare time, Carol still makes time to take meals to our church families and the needed with illnesses. As you can see, Carol has an amazing talent in the kitchen, and if you ever get a chance to eat her cooking, please don't miss that opportunity. I've probably had my last meal that she'll prepare for me. But most of all, Carol has a huge heart for her family, friends, and community, and that's why she's getting that this week. don't know if you heard it, is you're dead. Thank you, Carol. Before I get to the state of the county, I'd like to thank all the employees and department heads for their hard work and the dedication you do, especially people in public safety as you put your life on the line every day. Thank you, Sheriff Gullidge and the Sheriff's Office and Major Lynn Lahome and the Marshal's Bureau for all you do to keep us one of the safest counties in the entire state. But also to DOT and Water Department for the carelessness of our drivers. We've had accidents with these folks working on the side of the road, so they put their life on the line. We have E911 regarded as one of the best emergency centers in the state with the leadership of Dave Munford. Thank you, Dave. And this year we had the retirement of Fire Chief Michael Earwood, and we're so proud of the appointment of Chief Joey Pelfrey. Joey, will you stand? And also Assistant. I don't know if Greg's here. Assistant Chief Greg Ellsbury. Oh, good. I'll go to this and you go work. Is that what? The financial condition of Paulding County is a AA bond rating, and it's due mainly to the great dedication of Tabitha Pollard, our finance director for 10 years. Tabitha, thank you. She's received an award from the state every year. Now, she's been with us a lot longer than that, but she's actually been named the director. So for 15 years she's been doing this work. She only got recognized for doing it in the last 10. There are many more departments to thank. There's so many people that do an outstanding job for us that I should just stand up here and mention every single one of them, but for the sake of time, I can't. What is the state of the county? We're at a crossroads in Paulding County. We've seen tremendous growth in the home building industry in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. And we've seen the worst recession since the Great Depression in 2008 through 2011. Working with Economic Development Authority, the Industrial Building Authority, the Airport Authority, and the Chamber of Commerce, we began to see positive changes in industrial and commercial growth in 2012. With a rise in property values back to pre-recession times during 2015. Now, I heard people gripe about the values of their houses going down, and when they started coming up, I heard them gripe about them coming up. I'd rather be up than down. Where do we go from here? We have a new Board of Commissioners, and we're faced with some very hard decisions. Will we make those decisions in the best interest of the 155,000 people that live here, or the loud, outspoken minority that would love to carry us back to the 1950s? Folks, it's past time for your vocal, active support of our county's future. Remaining silent simply gives a voice of those who are determined to bring harm to our county. Folks, I can't predict to you how other people will govern. All I can tell you is what I will do to govern. President Dwight Eisenhower once said, "Neither a wise nor a brave man lies down on the tracks of history and waits for the train of the future to run over him." My focus has been on water, economic development, and transportation, and will continue to be. Water, water everywhere, and all the borders did shrink. Water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink. That came two lines from the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. Jane realizes that we had to learn those back in the 8th grade. I don't want to look up in 25 years, and Paulding doesn't look up in 25 years with no water to drink. That is why, after 16 years and 3 commission chairmen, we are finally receiving our 404 permit from the Corps of Engineers to build the Richland Creek Reservoir. I have worked on this every week since being in office for over 6 years. It's amazing how long something like this takes. There are many people to thank. Thank you, Bill Carruth, for beginning the process. Thank you, Jerry Sharon, for continuing the process, and Mike Jones and Michael Carter for working towards this huge success. Thank you, Laura Ashmore, for your working towards this completion of this process, and she's been a godsend. Thank you. We have a great water team of Brown and Caldwell as our program managers. Arcadis is our design engineer. Ron Harris is our 404 permitting consultant. And the Paulding County Water and Sewer Advisory Board. Would y'all please stand and let us recognize you? I'd like to thank Boyd Austin for chairing the Metropolitan North Georgia Water Board and also for chairing the Georgia Environmental Finance Board, or GEFA. This is where we've received millions of dollars to finance Richland Creek Reservoir, which only gets us halfway there. Bonding will get us the rest of the way. And Laura and I've been talking to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and they've got some programs that we think we'll be able to take advantage of. So we're well on our way. I want to thank the law firm of Talley, Richardson, and Cable for their legal advice during this arduous process, and the special legal counsel of King & Spalding, partner Lewis Jones. If y'all are here, would y'all stand? You're with the firm. Last but not least, I'd like to thank Governor Nathan Deal. We have had the governor's complete cooperation, assigning people to help us, and contributing $15 million from the governor's water supply program. This is a direct investment in Paulding County that will not be required to be repaid. And I'd like to say thank you to the governor. We appreciate the guidance of the Environmental Protection Division, or EPD Director Judd Turner, who personally escorted us to Savannah to go after these permits. And Russ Pennington. Russ, are you here somewhere? Russ Pennington, formerly with EPD and GEFA, who was assigned to help us get this permit. Special thanks to the Corps of Engineers, headed by Colonel Tom Tickner. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to sign our permit. Tom was reassigned to Afghanistan, so y'all keep him in your prayers. It is now headed by Colonel Marvin Griffin, and I asked him, did you know that we had a governor here once named Marvin Griffin? Of course, he didn't know that. I want to thank Colonel John Kitka of the Mobile District. You wouldn't believe what we had to go through to get to this and get approvals. While the Corps processed our application and completed their due diligence, David Lexon with the Corps of Engineers in Savannah endured my countless calls, my begging, my pleading, my praying. And David, you are a man of your word. Thank you. Hundreds of people have worked on Richland Creek Reservoir, and you need to pat yourself on the back for this hard work. We are reviewing the draft permit conditions that will become part of our permit and waiting on the final. Now a new chapter begins to fund and build the reservoir and treatment and distribution infrastructure. The county has closed on 2 pieces of property totaling 189 acres adjacent to the dam and reservoir, which will be part of the 150-foot undisturbed vegetative buffer around the shoreline. There won't be any houses built in this area, and probably wouldn't have been done with Allatoona and Lanier had they known that this was going to actually be our water source. A third 170-acre tract has been purchased, which will provide public access to the new reservoir for fishing and other activities. But remember, no gasoline engines. Remember, this is a water system lake. This 170 acres could function as a park with camping sites if the next blast is approved. So be thinking about that. Paulding County will host a business networking session to connect local contractors and support local businesses with large prime contractors and give opportunities to support the construction of the Richland Creek Water Supply Program. Very much, where's Mark Haney? Very much like we did when we hosted for Wellstar for local people to get jobs there. There are 5 phases to the next part. Intake and pump station on the Etowah River, the raw water pipeline to the reservoir, which is the lake and the dam, water treatment plant and reservoir pump station, and the distribution system piping. If you understand, we have a system now that runs east-west from Cobb Marietta, and we'll have to build a north-south. Brown and Caldwell has set up a website to answer frequently asked questions and give reports on www.rcrwater.com. We've had over 5,000 hits from around the globe and adding content regularly. We have responded to questions from the public through this established website. You can become a subscriber and receive notifications and update as new content is added. Richland Creek may be one of the most important events in our county's history to sustain us into the future. We have worked with a steering committee comprised of representatives from key Paulding County groups to prepare a stakeholder communication plan for Richland Creek Reservoir. Regular updates on RCR program are provided to the Water and Sewer Authority, the Board of Commissioners, and on video updates aired on Channel 23 by our own Jody Martin, and to provide information on progress towards RCR. Now, Jody's heard this speech about 50 times, trying to get it right. And one day she had to keep her grandbaby, and I said, why don't you just go home and get your grandbaby and bring it back up here? And she said, I wouldn't put my grandbaby through that. In an effort to keep our neighbors informed about our reservoir, we've reached out to neighboring counties and city representatives to keep them abreast of this program in Bartow, Cartersville, Emerson, Hiram, and Dallas. In consideration of the great partnership with Cobb Mirror Water Authority, where I serve as vice chair and finance chairman, we've been planning for Richland Creek Reservoir for years. Thank you, Glenn Page. I don't know where, Glenn, where are you sitting? Oh, I serve with Glenn with the board of directors, and this has been an awesome task for us. In fact, Glenn this week was on the line with us with the Corps talking about stipulations and things we needed to do because he's already built the Hickory Log Creek, so he's been a great help to us. Glenn unfortunately had to send us a letter a little more than a year and a half ago and saying, we have a contract with you, but we can no longer promise you water. And they couldn't promise us water because the court hadn't given them what they promised to give them. So he said, let's get to work and make sure Richland Creek gets built. So Glenn, I can't thank you enough. This has been awesome. Thank you to everyone, everything you've done to make this a success, including our former Commissioner David Barnett. Thank you, and serving on the Water Authority. And to our own current commissioners who are here today, thank you all. I know they're as excited as I am. I'm asking you please don't go to sleep at the wheel because we have to keep this project moving, and our future depends on it. As I transition into water, from water to transportation, an important note that most of the new water lines will need to be coordinated with our new DOT, our DOT director, Scott Green, and they're already busy with the details down the flow of our state routes and our county routes. I can't speak about transportation without mentioning Richard Huff, a 20-year employee that retired last year and lost a battle to cancer. Most of the roads you ride on today, Richard probably helped pave, and he will be missed. In the transportation field, we conduct our business and often measure our success with tangible elements like concrete, asphalt, and steel. Yet, transportation is about something equally as valued, people. Transportation is about people and how they get to market, how they deliver their kids to school, how they get and see their families and friends, and how they pursue happiness. I'm a sixth generation Paulding County, and I date back to one red light in Paulding County. My dad was a rural mail carrier, and he had 62 miles of dirt road. And get a load of this, most of that was Highway 92. Today, the Paulding County Department of Transportation currently maintains 992 miles of roads, 42 traffic lights and growing, and 62 bridges, along with assorted other duties and responsibilities. Man, have we come a long way. Some projects noteworthy are Bill Caruth Parkway Phase 2, the bridge from Norfolk Southern Railroad to State Road 92, and this is widening from 2 to 4 lanes. This is our most traveled county road with over 17,000 vehicles per day. It's our highest priority for both capacity and economic development. Construction began on this in 2014, is due to be over in 2016, about a year from now. The Willow Springs Road Bridge, this bridge replacement project, we opened the bridge over the Silver Comet Trail to traffic in November of 2014. The existing wooden bridge had the lowest efficiency rating in the county. The structural capacity of the bridge was inadequate for many larger vehicles, like fire trucks, school buses, and ambulance, which along with the condition of the bridge mandated its replacement. Imagine we'd have a fire, we'd have an ambulance there, and get out to Little Springs Road Bridge and realize they had to go to the other end. So this has had bus routing, this has had emergency, and the motorists on this new bridge will be afforded the views of the historic wooden bridge, which is left in place and be available for pedestrians and cyclists. When you ride on the new bridge and you look at the old one, you go, I took my life in my hands. Treva tells me she and Curly parked on that bridge. Road paving. Regarding road infrastructure, I believe the quote best sums this up, and you can tell it came from an engineer. We've been really good at treading water, but that's not an Olympic category. You must do some distance. To that end, the county is beginning to increase the amount of road miles resurfaced. In 2014, paving efforts included 18 miles of contract paving and 9 miles of in-house paving, and a 17-mile asphalt project was just awarded to C.W. Matthews, and currently this project's underway. The project entails patching, shoulder widening, leveling, and pavement overlays to the county's various roads. State projects. Our largest state project, of course, we're working on is Highway 92 widening from I-20 in Douglasville through Paulding, and we have worked closely with the Georgia DOT, our state and U.S. leaders, to keep this project moving as a top priority for both our daily commute and our economic future. The Douglasville section is under construction. The right-of-way offers and acquisition have already been underway from Douglasville to Hiram. This needed project will make for a faster, safer commute via I-20 and improve the quality of life for the commuter to spend less time on the road, more times with their family. The rest of Highway 92 to Ackworth is actively under design. Other state projects are Highway 61 to south of Dallas, restarted its design process, and my sister Winona lives on it. She can't wait for that to happen. And right-of-way has been acquired on Highway 360 or Macklin Road, and will be ready to construct within 2 years to connect to the Windy Hill connector and the new Braves Stadium. We will continue to monitor and coordinate and encourage GDOT through the efforts and leadership of Russell McMurray at the state level, and Russell's doing an awesome job. As we get to economic development, it is my pleasure that our Economic Development Board has hired Robert Reynolds to lead our Economic Development Commission. Robert comes to us with wonderful credentials and successes. Robert, would you stand and let us recognize you? I believe that picture's had a little touch-up done to it. As I visit with commissioners from various counties around the state, it's my role of Board of Directors of ACCG. I see how very fortunate we are in Paulding County, as some counties in South Georgia, believe it or not, are closing their hospital. We are enjoying success of Paulding Wellstar Hospital. Thank you to Mark Haney and the Wellstar Board for your decision to finish the top 2 floors of Paulding Hospital. I got a call from one of my friends who had to admit his mother within a week or two of this new hospital opening, and he was told that it was full and they'd have to wait for a bed to open, and he called me up and he said, this can't be true. You can't be full. Well, since day one, this has been full, and it's been awesome, so thank you. I've had the pleasure to serve on this regional board in the Hospital Authority, and what a pleasure it's been. Success comes to a county when you have great health care. Thank you, Reynolds Jennings, for your service as CEO, and welcome Conda Saunders as the new incoming CEO of Wellstar. Great health care is the backbone of our community. If you serve on the Wellstar board, you do any volunteering, any way, form, or fashion, Wellstar, will you stand and let us recognize you? Down the road from Wellstar is a new state patrol post, and it will increase our safety with the presence of many new officers, and this we will have Sergeant James Davenport. I was hoping he'd be with us today. I'm reminded of a story that I was over in another county a few years back. I got stopped by State Patrol. He started approaching my car. Would you say amen? A mess. And so I said to him, excuse me, sir, you happen to know Bruce Harris? He said, oh, yeah. Bruce is one of my dearest friends. I said, mine too. He said, I give Bruce's friends tickets, and he gives my friends tickets. So just kind of getting to know Sergeant Davenport is not going to get you out of any tickets for sure. Y'all probably remember Bruce. He's a former state trooper and our former sheriff prior to Gary Gulledge. The state patrol post came to fruition through the efforts of Charlie Watts and Representative Howard Maxwell leading our county delegation and working with Governor Nathan Deal and Colonel Mark McDonald and the state and Sheriff Gary Gulledge to make safety a top priority for Paulding County. Going hand in hand with the state patrol post is our new driver services facility, where we'll be able to receive and renew our Georgia driver's license. Thank you again to Charlie Watts. Charlie, why don't you stand? Y'all give Charlie a hand. Thanks again to Charlie Watts and Representative Howard Maxwell with the Department of Driver Services, headed up by Commissioner Rob Michael, directed by Wayman Henry. Our new driver services facility will be located behind the courthouse, a short walk to my favorite restaurant, the Hickory Hut, with a new road to connect to Dallas. Thank you to the former Government Services Director, Chuck Rand. Parks and Recreation. As we make progress in economic development, we are aware of our greatest tourist attraction, the Silver Comet Trail, and it ties to many of our parks. Again, this was an idea started in Bill Caruth's administration and continues today to be probably one of our greatest tourist attractions. Security on this Silver Comet Trail has been the main focus this past year. As County Administrator Mike Jones added state-of-the-art cameras to headed by our IT, Will Lyons. Will, you're here today. Would you stand? Right here. In cooperation with Parks and Recreation, the Sheriff and Marshal's Bureau to make this the safest section of this 53-mile course. We've had some incidences. This will not stop those from happening, but hopefully it will deter or help us catch those people. So, great new cameras. We have really been keeping our Parks and Recreation Department Director Michael Justice busy. Hand in hand with this trail is the Veterans Park, and we've seen tremendous usage both in physical fitness to outdoor concert, enjoyment of families with picnics, and dedicated to veterans that allow us our freedom. If you're a veteran in the room today, would you stand and let us recognize you? All veterans. Notice we have some outstanding women that were in that group also. Thank y'all. The Union Area Park work on the construction documents for this planned multi-use park is located in the Mulberry Rock, Billy Bullet Road area of western Paulding. And we got a color copy. Thank you, Eddie Wade. A contract has been awarded to New South Construction. The initial phase of this 160-acre development will include open spaces, walking trails, picnic areas, both enclosed and open air, playground areas, and a community gardens recommended by former Commissioner Mike Pope. And it's a new feature added to this park. So he will be bringing his tractor over and getting the plots ready for y'all to plant gardens. The park also includes a large pond to serve as a source of irrigating property, and we'll also have a catch and release pond there. Now on to our most talked about subject, the greatest opportunity for economic development and prosperity for future generations that Paulding County has ever seen in our lifetime, and that's the Silver Comet Field at Paulding Northwest Atlanta Airport. Visit our beautiful airport and look at the missed opportunities we have because of Delta's anti-free market lawsuits. We have missed so much, it's hard to know where to start. Delta's slogan is, keep climbing, but at whose expense? So far, it's been the expense of the Paulding County taxpayer. Just something as simple as building a new fire station, which was being held up, and would have changed our ISO, that's a rating that you get to lower your insurance, saving thousands of dollars for our hardworking citizens. To put things in perspective, let's compare our airport to Cobb County's. They saw an opportunity to set up a customs office, and now flights from international destinations generating new revenues. And GDOT says that the latest impact is very telling. 842 full-time jobs, 25 million in payroll, and a whopping 112 million every year in economic output. Guess what? Our entire county budget is only 130 million, and they generate 112. Clearly, they're taking advantage of their airport. And then our neighbors up in Cartersville, for their airport, they have 463 jobs, 15 million in payroll, and 52 million in economic activity. Our airport could have the same successes, free of lawsuits and free of the bad influence from the city of Atlanta and Delta Airlines. We don't ever want, nor will we ever become a Hartsville ever. But a small regional option for our community to easily and affordably go on vacation. Well, that's a whole lot different scenario than going on a Hartsville departure, waiting in the security line for 40 minutes, up and down escalators, getting on a train, and then walking, and walking all the way to your gate, only to find out your flight is going to be delayed. My goodness, a flight to Orlando is 58 minutes long, and we're getting in our cars 4 hours before we leave for that flight. And to me, that's not quality of life. Now imagine traveling without a headache. Simply pull into the Silver Comet Trail, and within minutes you're parked, you're through security, boarding a plane to Disney World, and saving hours of your time, and a whole lot of aggravation, literally hundreds of dollars in airfare, not to mention the $30 a day you pay for parking. This would be a blessing, a true quality of life, and we have that opportunity to seize that. A country church, Jay and I get out and look for potholes and spend our time riding around the county, and a little country church in Paulding recently had a welcome sign that said, if you're not growing, decay is setting in. I told Jane I'm going to copy that down. The city of Atlanta wants to tell Paulding County how to run our airport, but they have never included us, our local government, in the plans they have for the 9,400 acres here next to ours. I seriously doubt that they've ever asked Dawson County the same question. In a June 24th, and this was reported in the Atlanta Business Chronicle, in a June 24th request for proposal, the city says it hopes to identify innovative opportunities to realize additional value for their airport's real estate holdings. And I'm still quoting the Atlanta Business Chronicle. The city is seeking a consultant to determine its highest and best use for airport-owned sites. That might include office space, cargo, logistics, industrial, retail project, and get a load of this, housing units. What do they mean by that? Housing units and hotels. You know, I'm really sick of Atlanta trying to tell everyone here and around the state they know what's best. Because of lawsuits that cost our community upwards of $35 million, and every day this continues at a whopping $41,000 a day. And here's the breakdown. $15 million a year in economic impact times 2 years. Between 75 and 140 new jobs, between 2.25 and 4.2 million in payroll, 2 million in FA discretionary grant money, $552 in rental income, an uncalculated amount of various tax revenues, hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees, and $400,000 wasted in taxpayer funds to move a 911 center. My friends, Paulding County needs your help. You've got to get involved. You've got to come to meetings, and you've got to voice your opinion. They are harassing our civil servants. Law firms hired by Delta in Washington bombard us with documents and try to overwhelm our little government and bring us to a standstill, so we will not have the opportunity to advance in Paulding County. We have worked so hard to get where we are today. Our future looks very bright, but you've got to get engaged, that we can ensure that Paulding County not only succeeds, but we soar. Now, I could go on and on about the airport, but I've said enough. Moving on with economic development is our film studio. The movie Vacation was just filmed at our studio. It's coming out, and it seems to be hilarious. I think the only problem is it's rated R. So you might not want to go see that one. Also at the studio, we just finished filming. If you remember the old Vacation, some of my friends say that I drive like Chevy Chase in that first Vacation. I'm not sure that's true. At the studio, they finished filming the second season of Fake Off, and they're already talking about season 3. 2015 will see us in the black for operations. It won't pay the bond, but we'll be in the black for operations. And negotiations are underway with 2 firms now looking at buying the film studio and keeping these jobs in Paulding County. Recently, in Atlanta Business Chronicle, Governor Nathan Deal announced that Georgia Film and Movie television production generated more than $6 billion in economic impact during the year. And Paulding County is capitalizing on that in this industry with our studio. Paulding County continues to grow, and we're fortunate to have Ann Lippman. Ann, are you here today? Stand up. Ann is at the helm of our community development. Our planning and zoning department assisted in planning commission with 34 cases. In 2014, there were requests for rezoning of 2 residential, not 2 houses, but 2 residential developments, one in Seven Hills and one at the Georgian. Both of these are 55 and older communities, so that means we don't have to educate the children. Also, the Georgian has built their clubhouse at Byrne, and they're looking to build a quaint hotel on the Fazio Golf Course, thanks to Jeff Stevens. I don't think Jeff's here today, but thank you, Jeff. Planning and zoning also started working collaboratively with the cities of Dallas and Hiram, the Board of Education, and the Chamber of Commerce and Northwest Georgia Regional Commission to update our comprehensive plan. A comprehensive plan is required by the Georgia Department of Community Affairs every 10 years to maintain the qualified local government status. Most people wouldn't have a clue what we have to go through just to keep our county running, but it's unbelievable. Without this QLG, the county is ineligible for many state programs and grants. This process is due in 2017, and the planning and zoning staff have begun to analyze fact-based market and demographic data about our county and how it relates to the comprehensive planning process, identifying many of the assets here in Paulding. In a few months, you will begin to see a team put together an RFP, that's a request for a proposal, for several studies to be done to enhance our basic plan. An economic development market study to discover what commercial and industrial businesses are best suited for our county, and a land conservation plan that assists with a future land use map. Project improvement fees in the amount of $500,000 have been collected for repayment of bond debt used to top our streets and many of our older subdivisions. This is huge because the previous Board of Commissioners did not wait for our roads to crumble or to deteriorate, but bonded the money to fix the infrastructure, and they attached a cost to these undeveloped lots. As these lots are repurchased, fees are collected and the bonds are repaid. Since 2013, 321 residential permits, this is non-residential permits, this is commercial and industrial, were issued with a construction value of $41 million. Residential development has been seen as even a greater increase at 1,501 permits with over 75 subdivisions and a construction value of $170 million. Since 2013, permit fees in the amount of $1 million have been generated, and you can see this slide. Folks, our economy is coming back in Paulding County. I can't tell you what will happen in Greece. I can't tell you what will happen in Puerto Rico, and I can't tell you what will happen in China, but in Paulding, we're moving right along. Our chief building official, Steve Turner, and Steve's here with us today. Steve, will you stand? Steve served Paulding County for 21 years, and he conducts inspections on abandoned and dilapidated buildings, which often results in issue by the courts for condemnation and removal. He not only approves new construction, but removes blight. 76 cases have been closed since January 2014, 2 houses condemned, and those structures removed. Thank you to Community Development, and thank you, Steve Turner. Now, Steve does a lot for this senior center in that he raises money for gifts, or they are giving gifts, and they can have bingo, and then a person in need, very much like Carol, all they've got to do is turn to Steve and get help. So thank you, Steve, for your dedication. In closing, I'm a sports enthusiast. I recently watched, I think this was 4 o'clock in the morning, a Sports Illustrated show naming the 1983 NCAA National Basketball Championship as one of the greatest sporting events of our time, where North Carolina State won the national championship. The coach was Jim Valvano, who later lost a battle to cancer. During one of his latest speeches, riddled with tumors and barely able to talk or walk, he said, "Every day, laugh, think, and have emotion until you cry." And I'm trying to live by those rules. As we keep this moving, I'm reminded of a quote by President Ronald Reagan: "There are no great limits to growth because there are no limits of human intelligence, imagination, and wonder." Please help me keep this county moving. God bless Paulding County.